Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just go bang. And if it sinks, then I know it's bad. And so I look at why it sunk and I come up with another idea and keep it afloat. Sometimes I rush into an idea and causes it a good idea to sink. But as I've gotten older, I've gone, pull back. And so I look at the idea, I put down on paper some thoughts about that idea, where I expect that to become part of my business or some aspect of it. And I sort of just, in my mind, I sort of have a scenario of, if I did this, what would happen? And so I'd think of as many possibilities that I could, and then I'd take it out and I'd show it at my family. They're really good. Families are really good to bounce things off, and they all go, it's no good, then I know to go with it.
So with any business idea and any idea, you have to test it, right? The challenge here is that people sit in their backyards, in their sheds or universities and think about great ideas. But it's only when you start talking to people, you get that feedback, you evaluate those ideas, and that's when you know if this is good or bad. So the first thing we did was to go to the market. First of all, segment your market, understand who the market is, and ask them. And the sooner the market says this is not a good idea, the better, because you can waste so much time doing things you think is good, but it might not be.
I think we're never really done testing. There's always more things we want to add to an idea and more things we want to grow onto it as it evolves. But we do test up to a point. There's only so much time in the day and you've got to release something eventually. You can't just develop it forever. We test a lot of our stuff internally, but we also do reach out to people close to us who have experience in certain areas to really get more feedback on what's good in something we're making, what's bad. We like to reach out to larger groups of people as well, so like students that might be specifically drawn to something, and ask them, what don't you like? And why don't you like it? Why doesn't that work for you? And what do you like? And why is that something that really catches your interest?
After talking to different audiences and really finding out what challenges they're facing, we test our MVP with that same audience and find out if it addresses the challenges that they're having and if they see that as a viable solution. We test this in many different ways through private testing, public testing, as well as interviews. Testing is a very large part of what you will be doing as a startup because you want to learn as quickly as possible whether this addresses the problems or the challenges that people are facing, because there's nothing worse than working on something for 6 months, a year, 2 years, only to find that it doesn't quite address the problem or the solution that you originally catered for. So with MVPs, it's very important to focus on the minimal viable product and break it up into small segments and really have a clear understanding of what you're focusing on each segment, and therefore you can test it as you go along rather than build a whole product and test it only to find that it doesn't work or fit the solution as best as you originally thought.
I do like to work with employees to help solve those problems together. So a bit of a many hands make light work, I guess, in that sense. Whether it be brainstorming or other techniques to work together to solve problems. And I think trying to empower them to come up with really good creative solutions is useful. So sometimes it's a bit of a combination, but usually spend some time with them to work through some problems and then let them get on with it and look at solving problems themselves and empowering them. I think for a business like mine that really relies on problem solving, it's probably one of the most important 21st century skills. Really, if you're waiting for clients to try and suggest fixes to problems, you'd be waiting a long time because you're really there to solve a need. So for my business and I guess all consulting, it's probably the most important.
That's a very good question, and I think it's very important to learn the different ways that you can generate new ideas in Heroes. A lot of it had originally come from the challenges that I faced on a daily basis, because Heroes originally was built for myself to learn and identify new sounds. And then from there, we really spoke to the audience, and we did a lot of interviews and a lot of validations with the audience in terms of what they were looking for and what challenges they faced and how we can help them with a solution.
A lot of internet research and a lot of reading. I've got about 50 cookbooks to sit in the restaurant, and I do a lot of online reading, and social media really helps a lot, to be honest. Having a look at Instagram, following certain hashtags and certain accounts that will allow you to try and think critically and think creatively of how you want to create a dish, or even just take an inspiration from what's around you as well is usually good notes as well. For example, with our loaded fries concept, we were walking past a trade site one day, and my business partner and I thought of Smoko Special loaded fries, and that's been going crazy ever since we put on the menu.